Hey, hopeful is well with you. I am LesAnn. You call me LesAnn, I will answer. What do? I play with fabric. That's the easiest way to tell you. I play with fabric. So, you're here for a sew with me, not a sew along, not a sewing tutorial. I am doing McCalls 7838. I am going to try to do all of my sewing on my Juki, meaning I'm going to do either flat felt seams or French, one of the two. I am going to, that's pretty much it. Now, I can tell you that one part I may not be able to do because I did decide to change up the sleeves. I will put up on the screen the actual pattern so you can see it. I've already made this pattern once and I did A the first time. Love it. I will continue to wear it. This is why I'm doing this again. But, excuse me, the fabric I used was one of the upcycle fabrics that I said I was going to be doing. It was a fabric that was gifted to me. It was a baby blanket, a baby sheet, a baby something. And I wanted to use the fabric up, and all the sleeves that was on here were too big for it. So I ended up changing it to another sleeve from another pattern. I don't think I wrote it in here what pattern it was. I'm not for sure. But when I get a chance, if I figure out or find the pattern, I will make sure I put up in either the description and or in the video somewhere what the pattern piece is. But I didn't change pretty much anything else. Everything else I stayed the same. I did cut a, if I can tell you the size, I think I cut a 20. I cut a 20. It goes as from size 6. Put my glasses on. Yeah. I did a size. It's the envelope size is a 14 through 22. I did a size 20. I could have went down, but because I wanted to sort of, if it hits my hips, which it doesn't, it's like just above where my hips are. I didn't want to hit my shelves too much and buckle. So that's one of the things I did change on. So technically I did do view A again with more of a tulip sleeve. View B, the difference between A and B is that the back side drops down a little bit, not a whole lot, just maybe 3 inches, dips down a little bit. So I did that on my first one, and I'll pop up pictures of the original one I did. And I love the shirt. I just don't like how it sits on my shelf. So I've decided that I am not going to do the dip down anymore on the shirt as of right now. I may change my mind later on. Maybe make it where it has slits on the side or something like that and still is accommodating. Haven't decided yet. But after I make this one, I do plan to do either C or D because I want a long sleeve because these are 2 short sleeves. I do want to do a long sleeve. I have a couple fabrics in there that may be used for my upcycle. It's probably one I haven't shown y'all. But I'm more apt to do View D. View D has more of a, it's a full sleeve with a bow, which gives a kind of Victorian vibe, I would say. Maybe not, but in my head it does. And so I'm thinking of, I have a sheet that is a gray paisley and it's a Ralph Lauren. But I want to make sure before I cut mine out that I'm able to cut a shirt out for my husband. So that may take me a couple weeks before I can get to that. But we shall see. Plus, in the midst of all of this, I'll be traveling. So y'all may get to see me on my travels. Who knows? Nothing special. Yeah, it is always special when you go see family. All right, so I'm gonna finish setting this. Well, it's pretty much set up because well, no, I'm gonna change because right now there is a mauve in my sewing machine, and I want to do pink. I guess I should show you the fabric. This is the fabric. Upside down. This is the fabric. So it has huge flowers on it, and I'm sure somebody says this is fall, and I don't care. I'm doing this. Why? Because the fact that it has different colors in it, I can still wear it now. In fact, I think I have a skirt, pencil skirt, I think. This color, I may even, I think what else would look really cute with this is a pair of wide leg denim pants or a cute skirt, like a pencil. I don't know if it'll be a upcycle or a something like that, but I can see it in my head. That would be so cute. With maybe some silver jewelry. Because I realize I'm not big on gold. I'll wear it, but I'm not a big gold person. Sometimes I just have to be in the mood for it. But, right now, we're going to do this. Now, I will tell you, before I get too far, I do not follow the pattern instructions. This is the pattern. The instructions are still inside. I hardly ever pull them out. But that's just me. But I have everything cut. So we're going to go ahead. The first thing I'm going to do is fuse the interface into all the pieces that need to be fused. And also I am going ahead and change the thread from this mauve, which it could work, but I got pink. So I might as well do it in pink. Change it to the pink, and I'm going to go ahead and rock out. I was thinking I'm going to record and see how long it takes me to make this shirt. Because I did my son's shirt, and it said it should be 3 hours. And I think because I hadn't done it in so long, the reason why it took me over 3 hours, plus I'm nitpicky. So it probably took me closer to 4, maybe 4:15. And then the only other thing I haven't done, which is I need to pick my buttons. Let me do that before I get too far, because I don't want to get too far on this project and not have buttons. So I'm going to pick the buttons out, fuse the interfacing, and that's where we're going to start. Okay? Okay, y'all. So now I am going through my container of buttons. I ended up selecting, I think, 4 or 5. I haven't solidified just yet which one it will be. I do have a community post up. So if you would like to still help me, because this shirt is not completed, it would be greatly appreciated. All right, we bright. Working by candlelight. Okay, it's a little better. Not too much in my face. All right, so I'm going to direct you down. You're not going to get all of this because it's going to take a minute. So I have interfaced my collar, the stand and the collar. This is the collar, this is the stand. Front placket for my buttons. And I'm actually got my sleeves. Now, because these are tulip sleeves, I'll have to do these first. I did see a trick on Instagram, Facebook, somewhere, in how to hem this, hopefully quickly. I may record it, or if I record it, it may or may not be in here. So I'll tell you about it if it worked. I'll tell you about it if it don't work. So I am working on my Juki, which is DD 8700. one thing I did have to do differently or to change, because this was a baby blanket. That's why I had to be very strategic. It was a baby blanket that it was fitted. So the one thing I did have to do differently for the yoke area, the yoke, the collar, and the stand, I had to use pink. So the pink is going to be on the underside. You'll still see the fashion fabric on the outside of the collar stand and the outside of the collar. And then this pink yoke will be on the inside. It'll be fine. I'm not stressed about that. It's close enough that it looks good, and everything. What else? I don't know what else. I'm going to get started. I should put my headphones on. So of course, the first thing I am going to do is make sure I have my machine set up. So I am threading my machine, and I'm going to tell you a whole fiasco happened when I started the process and realized that it wasn't stitching correctly. So I had to actually remove my plate and clean out underneath because it was affecting the pressure with the presser foot. So I went on and actually moved the plate and cleaned out this excess amount of lint that was affecting the throat plate. After I did that, it was pretty much good. Now this machine is industrial, and I only have to really oil it regularly, and it works just fine. Anyway, so we get that straight and we get to working. This, of course, I always take the time, test, and make sure everything is put back correctly. I just used a scrap piece of fabric that was closest. I know I am working with a woven, and this is a knit. It was also the same piece of cloth that I used to cut out said different things. So the one thing I took the time in doing, I started clipping and pinning or putting things together that I can just continually sew without having to stop. It makes it way easier to finish said project, I say. Does it always work? Probably not, but for the most part, I got the front placket pinned in. I pinned the yoke to the front and back yoke to the back piece, and just anything I could go ahead and pre-clip so that I can go ahead and get the sewing done. I did decide on doing a flat felt seam for most of my sewing so that I could hide and not have to go to my serger as much. And I'm gonna have to make sure I do like an insert closer to the end so you can kind of see the finishings of the process. Throughout the entire time of sewing, I do press as I go. Each section that I finish, I make sure I press it and then top stitch. Right at this point, I began to work with the sleeve. I did change the shape of my sleeve to a tulip sleeve because of the amount of fabric I was working with. And I had to sew the underseam together because I would have to do the hemming of the garment, or hemming of the sleeve, excuse me. And I just kind of do what assembly, sewing each piece, each thing that I could sew up. I went on and did. If I clipped it. Now with this process of doing my collar, I only sew the longest part of my collar before I continue the process. I go ahead and trim off the excess of fabric, and then I'm going to open my collar up. I do this way to help with the rolling of the collar. I will end up doing an understitch. I don't know where I learned this technique, and I don't do it all the time, but for the most part, I do. I'll finish it off in a second. So now I'm doing as much of the pressing as I can. I am doing the placket front, doing the 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch it tells me to do, and then I'm turning it under yet again. Now, I will tell you about this iron. It's okay. It's sort of kind of new, but it has an automatic shut off, and it doesn't act like I need it to act sometimes. It's a headache. Anybody know of a good iron? I would prefer a cordless. I've had one before, but it just doesn't follow suit with me, which drives me bonkers. But it's still usable, so I'm going to use it until it breaks. Here I am ironing and prepping each one of the seams to my sleeves because I am going to do the flat felt seam finish. I cut off about 1/8 of an inch, and then I turn the seam down. And I know some people want you just do a regular French seam. The reason why I'm not doing the French seam is I don't want that additional bulk inside my seams, especially where I am going to have to do a double fold hem at the base of my hems, and that includes the hem of the sleeve and the hem of the garment. So I'm avoiding that. So I brought you in a little bit closer at this angle, and right here I am doing the understitch for my collar. I did it on the pink side because that's the part that's not going to be shown. I did. Sometimes I don't know what it is when it comes to sewing that you kind of forget how to talk. So I'm doing the short portions of the collar. Did that really quick. Make sure when you're working with corners, go ahead and make sure you clip as close to your stitches as possible without cutting your stitches. And that will give you a pretty decent corner point. I have seen different techniques online and have thought about doing some of them. I kind of stick to what I know or what I like. Not necessarily that's the only way. Of course, once I'm done with that, I'll go ahead and do a top stitch around the entire collar. In between, I did press. I try to press every time when it comes to things. Now, at this point, I am sewing the yoke, top stitching it down. Everything that I can do the flat felt seam to, this is my secondary stitches, whether it's doing the placket or doing the stitches under my sleeve. I'm trying to get them all done. Now, I know it seems like it's really congested in this area, but this was the easiest way for me to sit up there and get this project done, probably in a lot faster fashion. Even though, yes, I am working on my Juki and it sews really fast, still I'm trying to pump as many projects out because y'all, I need a wardrobe. I didn't realize how bad I needed a wardrobe until I went on my trip, but we should talk about that later. Anyway, so here I am actually sewing the placket up. I did realize, well, I wouldn't say realize. Yeah, I realized at the very end when I finished the project that I must have shortened my placket too much, or I did something wrong. I'm not for sure what, but it seemed like the distance in my placket wasn't right. Now, of course, it's not really a big issue, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So now I'm doing the burrito method. I rolled up the back of my top as well as the front, rolled them up and clipped my shoulder seams. Now I am getting ready to attach the collar stand to the collar that I had already finished out. I made sure I did my markings, the main marking that I focus on, because I don't always get my collars right. I just kind of, as they say, float on, make it work, make it do what it do. I make sure that the front or the center back of the collar and the stand match. And then I just make it work the rest of the way, because sometimes I may get it off and it doesn't end up sitting in the right position sometimes. It could be my cutting, it could be, I don't know. Sometimes I don't stress about it as long as I can make it look good. And that's just practice. I will never tell anybody they can't do it. If you practice any project or any technique long enough, you can usually get it. So now I'm ironing the sleeves. I'm getting ready to do the sleeves using the technique that I seen online. And I'm going to tell you, it worked, but I hated the way it worked. I guess that's the easiest way to say it. You were supposed to take a piece of paper, go ahead and sew 1/4 of an inch from the edge, and then come back and fold it, and it was supposed to help you have a neat hem. It could have been the weight of the fabric was a lot stiffer, which made it more difficult for the fold to happen like well. And it was a lot. I didn't have to. I was using scrap pieces of fabric. I was refusing to use a whole piece of paper. But I'm going to tell you one thing. There's another way I usually do my double fold hem. And the funny thing is, because I really didn't like this technique that I seen online, I ended up doing my other technique on my other sleeve. So now I am using, it's called band roll, or the same stuff that you would use to stabilize your waistbands. I kind of removed about 7 to 8 of the rolls. And so I am now applying it about 1/4 of an inch from the edge. And it takes a little bit longer, especially on this sleeve, because of the curve. Now, normally when I use this technique, it's not that hard. But I think it was a combination of the weight of the cotton and the curve was really kind of deep. So I had to be very precise and take my time. So it was a couple stitches and then I laid it down. I wish I had a better angle. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in and see if it shows it just a little bit better. Hold on. Hopefully this makes it a little bit easier to see the band roll material that I am using to help me do this double row hem. Now I know that I can just turn it up and iron it and do it. The difference is especially with the fact that it's a curved hem, it's much harder to kind of get that nice smooth finish. But with this particular technique, which I've done, like I said, for years, it is so much easier. But I am applying first the band roll to the right side, and then I will turn it. So here is the finished project without the buttons. I so love this top. It's still not finished. I still have to select the buttons. I still have the community post up. I hadn't talked about it because I went on a trip. But what I did do, I used a different pattern for my sleeves. Unsure which one it was. It's a McCalls though that I used to make the sleeves. I did make a few other changes to the pattern. I shortened the length of the sleeve under the arm because I didn't like how it hanged, due to the fact that it was going to show too much of the underside of the fabric. I talked about the placket seemed to be a little bit smaller than I wanted. So there's some changes I'm going to make to this pattern, but for the most part, I will make this pattern again. And I've already decided on another upcycle fabric to make another one of the tops, but long sleeve. Still the same length, cropped, because it works best for my shape. I may even put splits in the side, but we shall see. So anyway, I appreciate y'all watching. Let me know what you think. Go ahead and drop your comments below. Make sure, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to my channel. I have linked the playlist to all the upcycles that I am doing. Go check those out, and I will catch you all the next time. Deuces!